Hello everyone, I'm Tanushi Chatterjee, counselor at Podar International School, Katol Road, Nagpur. Now, as we all can see, there's this coronavirus pandemic situation surrounding us. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of frustration that can be seen amongst people, amongst students, amongst our parents and teachers as well. So we had a few questions, we had a few queries, and under the guidance of our principal ma'am, Ms. Lucky Sadrani, we had an expert talk. So today we have amongst us Ms. Nupur Dhakefalkar, Chief Clinical Psychologist at Center for Mental Health. She is an MPhil in Clinical Psychology from NIMHANS, Bangalore. So now we'll talk to her and see how can our queries and our problems be solved. Good afternoon, ma'am. I hope
Hi.
you're doing well.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Tanushree. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking out your time. So,
I'm
without
glad to
further
be here.
ado, without further ado, we'll start, okay?
Sure.
So the first question that we all are facing is that school routines are important coping mechanisms for many children. Now, due to the pandemic situation, schools are shut down and the virtual classes have come to an end. How do
Right.
children maintain their daily schedules? How do they cope up with their laziness, their lack of willingness to study, or their general disinterest in daily activities?
Right. So, I understand what's going on right now, and it's difficult, not just for all of us, but for kids also. I mean, it's probably very, very difficult for the kids, and they are battling their own difficulties in this situation. So yes, and going to school is very important because school provides uh, a lot for mental health. It gives you a routine, like you said, and it keeps them occupied. It gives them the social support and peer interaction and all of those things that are there. But now I think school is over. In the sense, virtual classes are also over. So one thing to understand is why not treat this as vacation time, because it is vacation, isn't it? So yes, they're at home, but and their school is over, but it is summer vacation for them. So we should remember that, and also maybe not expect them to study all the time during their vacations, and focus more on fun, because that's what vacations are all about. Okay, so and it's also okay for children to be lazy during their vacations, isn't it? So I think we should loosen up with the children a little bit. Let them sleep if they want to. Let them, get bored if they want to, and let them just relax their routine a bit. But having said that, it's important to have some idea of a routine rather than a strict routine. More so to understand how to plan a vacation. How would you generally plan a vacation? Yes, they may not go outside, but have a more vacation like atmosphere at home. So okay, you get a plate, then you will have your breakfast, then you will relax, have at least a general idea of a routine, and they can play around with that routine. But it helps to have a plan, because then they won't get lost. In this time, it's also important to allow the children to get bored, and this is something I say very often, because we are always, or mothers or teachers are always in the pressure to entertain the children, to keep them occupied, to ensure that they're doing this or to ensure they're doing that. That is not necessary. Children develop their creativity, they develop their imagination, they indulge in role playing, in self stimulation through role plays and things like that, or recreating situations that they've been through. And this is also an important part of coping, coping mentally, replaying those situations in which you behave differently. So it's important that they are allowed free play. Do not be under the pressure to have them doing something all the while. Yes, of course, what you can do is also maintain healthy boundaries with them, where they know your schedules, where they know that you have to do, as in parents, I'm talking about parents here, that parents are going to be busy, that parents have their own schedule, and during this schedule they are not to be disturbed. They are to engage themselves in any way they are happy doing. Of course, screen time and things like that are a different thing altogether, and we'll probably talk about it separately. But family schedules here are important, so the children know when they are not to disturb their parents. At the same time, to schedule family time or times with parents, so it's not just okay, don't disturb us and you play on your own, but this is the time we are going to come together and play something. So, to deal with the lethargy, to deal with the fatigue that just comes along with lazing around. So that is something that they can deal with some family time, running around time, board games time, or any of those things. Very important, this is also a good time for skill learning, for life skills learning. Just because school is over, just because academic learning is over, does not mean that they stop learning. Make them help you in their chores, involve them in housework, teach them how to sweep, teach them how to help you with cooking, with the dusting, with any household chores as per their age appropriate chores. So where that also can be scheduled, and these are important life skills. When they go out, when they are living alone, they wouldn't be lost saying that, okay, I've never learned how to do this, or I've not been taught this. This need not be only for academic learning. They can do a whole lot of life skills learning in this time. So I think this is something that will help them feel focused, feel in control of how the house is running, feel in control of themselves, and knowing boundaries that are being set by parents when they are not being listened, and having a general plan as to how to go about it, but not being very strict about sticking with the plan, and remembering that this is vacation time for them as well. So I think that is something that will definitely help the children with the academics also that are over.
All right. So now that ma'am you have said this is a vacation time, but school going children are generally very active.
Yes.
Now, due to this quarantine situation, due to the lockdown situation, they are all at home. They are not allowed to go outside, to play outside, to meet friends, or to socialize. Now, what are the best alternatives for them? In what ways can they adjust to this situation?
Okay, so like you said, they are generally very active, and this is physically and mentally very active. So first thing is that being at home and not being able to discharge all that energy that they may have inside, if they do not have sort of an opportunity or an idea of what to do with all that energy, it can lead to acting out behaviors, or they wouldn't know what to do with all that energy. They may not know what they're doing or how they're expressing their unpleasant emotions that might come out, of course, with this whole pandemic situation. They're listening to the news, they're feeling alone, there is so much uncertainty. So children are also going through all that, and this pent up energy can be discharged in unpleasant or unacceptable ways. So which means that we have to find ways in which they can discharge their energies in a more adaptive mechanism at home. And what's the best thing that will help them? Dancing. Most children like to dance, or even if they are not very out there with dancing, or they don't know how to dance by themselves, there are so many videos available on YouTube. There are so many people doing fitness videos out there for children, or those who simply like to dance can just put on their favorite music, and you know that, okay, dance on 3 songs, or dance for a while, or dance and take a break and dance, so that it cools them down. They know what to do with all that energy. There are a lot of people, like I said, putting fitness videos online, and even live videos where children exercise with their trainer or with an older child who is dancing. So this also can be put in their plan, and things like yoga is something that can be done at home. Skipping is something that can be done at home. There are a lot of physical exercises. Children learn PT exercises in school. Those can be done. So just because they are not active, they are not doing those activities in school, does not mean that many of them cannot be adopted for the home and adapted to the home situation. So this is something that definitely can be done. And apart from that, if the children have larger houses, if they have gardens, if they have some playing area, that is also that can definitely be used to do physical activities or play around with a ball or in any other sport that is possible in their area. So that is something that can also be done. And this I'm talking about specifically physical activity.
All right. So, but what is seen nowadays is lockdown has inevitably increased screen time for children. They are now
Absolutely.
more active on social media platforms, engaging themselves in browsing apps like TikTok or Hello, and splurging their time on online games. So, we know the ill effects of screen time. What effects can be seen on the mental health of the children due to this increased exposure to social media and online gaming?
So, to be very honest, I'm not sure how much can we keep them completely away from screen time and social media, because now things like their academic classes and learning, a lot of it happens on screen. Even on mobile phones, learning apps are being used. So a lot of their time inevitably is spent on screen time. And this is apart from leisure activities, apart from scrolling videos or social media or gaming. So apart from this, also a lot of their time is spent on the screen or watching TV or watching shows or being on the phone and watching stuff. So yes, of course, it's going to have anything in excess is not useful. Anything in excess is not harmful. So this is where we need to understand how to draw boundaries. What is okay, what is not okay, how much is okay, how much is not okay. What are the screen activities and screen times that can be limited and which cannot be limited. Like for example, online tuitions or online classes, you cannot say screen time and don't use your screen. So these are some boundaries that we have to understand. And excessive screen time can lead to a lot of difficulties mentally, behaviorally, socially, because the stimulation is quite passive on a screen. So if I'm on screen and something is going on, I don't have to put extra effort to engage myself. I don't have to put effort to pay attention. I don't have to sustain my attention. It's happening. I'm just passively taking in information. And even if my attention goes here and there, it comes back. And information, there's a lot of environmental stimulation. I don't have to put any effort for that. And then the brain gets used to it. And when that happens, for example, then when you get to read a book, reading a book is not passive information. You have to make an effort to put your eyes into it, to focus, to concentrate on what you're reading, to take in information, to analyze and comprehend that information, and a whole lot of mental activities that you have to do intentionally. In those times, paying attention and being able to focus, being able to concentrate goes drastically down. And research also shows that those children who are exposed a lot and early to a lot of screen related activities, it is correlated with them having ADHD or ADD difficulties, which is attention deficit or even attention deficit hyperactive difficulties. So that is a red signal. That is something that can definitely happen. Having said that, it's important to have a specific, like we spoke about having a schedule, it's important to also schedule the screen time. And here I'm not talking about your academic screen time, I'm talking about your leisure screen time. And as we limit that, it's also important to show that there are different options, that there are options that can help you have fun without actually needing the screen, that you can mentally stimulate yourself, you can play intelligent games, you can engage in art, you can do a whole lot of things to engage yourself and not get bored. And like I said, it's okay to get bored sometimes as well. So it's important that this limit is set, and it is not a very flexible limit. So this is what needs to be done.
All right. Moving forward, ma'am, that you are a clinical psychologist and you deal with clients facing problems of anxiety, frustration on a regular basis. Now, parents are facing difficulty in juggling their work and family. They have to work from home, and they also have children at home for months now. How do they keep up with this work life balance in this particular situation? How do they handle the associated frustration and anxiety as well?
Yes, so this is again something really big that people are going through, and this is, I believe, this is not just a work from home situation. There's a global pandemic happening, we are dealing with a global crisis, and in this uncertain and anxiety filled background, we are trying to manage all of these things. It's not a simple work from home situation. And with all this, it's not just that, there are these responsibilities as well, and all of these have to be, seems like it has to be all done together. Earlier, where if we went out, we know, okay, we do this at this time, then we go out, then we do our work, then we come back. Basically, again, it comes back to a schedule. So now it's important also at the same time to understand what is in your control and what is not in your control. It's expecting yourself to have everything in your control, just like how it was before the pandemic hit, and ensuring that things go perfectly puts a lot of pressure. So it's important to understand that you don't do that for yourself. Things are not going to happen perfectly. You're not going to be doing all the things that you want to do. You're not going to be able to do all the things that you have been doing before this. So it's important to be very, very realistic in this situation and know when to go ahead with what you're doing and when to just let yourself be, when to just let your chores be. So to begin with, it's just important, again, going back, to have a schedule for yourself, to have a schedule for the family, to have all the family members, to have a schedule for the kids, so that, and a plan of how you're going to deal with all of this, so you know that you're not doing all of it at the same time. It's important that all this is communicated very, very clearly, not just to the members of the family, but what difficulties you're having in the home and in the family front, to communicate this to your co-workers and your superiors as well. Okay, because this is a situation very likely they are also facing. So they are also going to be more likely or not than not understanding of what you're going to be going through. So if there are some ups and downs, if there are any lapses, or there are some times that are not kept, if they know what situation you are in, if they know the extent of the responsibilities and the stress that you're going through, very likely they are going to not put a lot of pressure on you that they would have put earlier had this situation not been there. It's important to take breaks, not just breaks within a task, but also between tasks and also from tasks. Okay, so there has to be time where you say, okay, you know what, I'm not doing anything, I'm not going to do my work, I'm not going to work from home, I'm not going to work at home, I'm not going to work for these people right now, I'm just taking a break. I'm just taking some me time. So this sort of break that you take for yourself is very important. It's important to take your me time. It's important to engage in relaxing activities. It's important to engage in yoga. It's important to just, even if it is just 15 minutes or half an hour during the day, do not forget yourself, because you cannot pour out of an empty jar. If you, because it's very easy to get burnt out, it's very easy to get depressed in such a situation. But when you keep refreshing yourself, replenishing your mental and physical resources, it's going to help you build more resilience to be able to keep doing what you're doing to whatever extent you can. So that's important. At the same time, ensure that, as much as possible, ensure that everybody in the family is contributing to make the load easier for the family. Okay, remember, family chores or household chores are not your chores. They are the chores of the household, of the members of the family. So try to see if all the work at home is, as much as possible, equally divided. Okay, even if there are two working members in the family, okay, even if there are children, see how, even if there are grandparents, see who can do how much. And do not be afraid to communicate this clearly and yet kindly to everybody in the family, so that this burden, this load is divided, and that nobody falls under the pressure, nobody buckles under the pressure that all of us are facing right now. So this is very, very important. And taking me time, relaxing, communicating, expressing your emotions, all these things are very important to help deal with the frustration and anxiety. So that is very important, and that is something that is told, or that is something we as psychologists suggest everybody, no matter who they are, what roles they are playing, what careers they are following. Just this applies to everybody.
Yeah. So, having said that, but still, the new polls suggest that 1/3 of the teachers who are experiencing higher levels of stress and anxiety. It was difficult for teachers to learn new technologies, cater to the needs of the students, teachers, and management as well. Now the classes have ended. What are the ways for teachers to unwind themselves and to overcome the stress?
Very, very pertinent to what is going on right now. The first thing that the teachers should most definitely do is acknowledge their efforts and appreciate themselves. That's the first thing that needs to be done, because they have adapted so newly and differently and creatively to the current situation, have stood up for the school, have stood up for the students, have done all they could to deal with all these different changes, and yet do their job as well as they can. And that definitely, they need to acknowledge that themselves. They need to tell themselves what a great job they've done. They need to appreciate themselves for all the efforts that they are taking. Okay, they need to see the new developments that have happened in their own personality, in their own skills. Okay, so that is very important. So apart from that, once now that these classes have ended, I think it would probably be a good break for them as well. And they should also see this as a vacation. Yes, of course, there are going to be household responsibilities, and they are going to have to deal with their own children who've been at home for such a long time, and many other responsibilities, housework responsibilities, and so on. But also take it as vacation from school, and do all those things. So there would be some time that they would have given for their school activities in terms of their online work. or online teaching that they're doing, or all the prep that they're doing in the background for all the online teaching. Online work is not just that. Teaching is not just that. There is probably double the time and effort that is required in prepping for all of that. So they can use that time to just relax and not do anything, instead of now I have this time, now I'll do this responsibility, or now that I have this time, I can probably take up this responsibility as well. Not saying don't do that, but if as much as possible, take that time to just relax, sleep. Please catch up on the sleep that you can do, that you can take up. Okay, because sleep is one thing that stress really takes a toll on. Please socialize as much as possible with people online, with your friends online. Now, because of this pandemic, people are getting more and more comfortable with online sharing platforms, online meeting platforms, and a lot of family members are actually getting closer, and friends are talking a lot more because there's a lot more concern as well. So please spend time with your friends, all the friends who you've not been able to meet, chit chat with, or just unwind with. Spend time relaxing with your friends. Yes, online for the time being, but do that. Sleep, rest, get back to the hobbies that you haven't engaged in for a very long time. Engage in art, engage in light exercise, because we all need exercise, and exercise really contributes to not just reducing stress but also improving well-being, improving happiness, improving not just physical health but also mental health. So do a lot of things for yourself. Understand that making yourself a priority does not make you selfish. Okay, making yourself a priority builds your resilience, and in these difficult times, resilience building is something. Coping is one thing, and resilience building is another. Yes, you're coping a lot with what's going on. At the same time, you need to keep working on those mental muscles and psychological muscles to deal with what may or may not come in the future. So that is something that is very, very important. See if you want to just engage in some professional growth as well. Take online classes for your own self, for your own development. See if there is something new that you want to learn. Again, it would be without the pressure, without the academic pressure, without the pressure of the school that, okay, you know what, this is what you need to learn to do your job. But this is for your own self. Try to see what are the new online social platforms that are there that students are using, that will also update you with the whole, and try to be with the times. But remember, for leisure and for fun, and please keep some fun time for yourself and relaxation time for yourself. It's very, very important. And when you are taking care of yourself and when you are in a well state, it's going to definitely have an effect on your family as well. So your well-being is also very important for your family's well-being. And you taking care of yourself, making yourself a priority, is not selfish. I'm repeating this because this is something that women often come and share this. How can I focus on myself? There's so many other things that are required. But how will you do all the things, or at least most of the things, or some of the things, if you are yourself not in the state to do so? So please take care of yourself, and that's very, very important.
All right, coming to an end, what strategies do you recommend can be used by everyone to lead a calm and happy life during this COVID-19 situation, and how to overcome the challenges that we are facing every day?
Okay, so this is again something that I've been thinking a lot about, talking a lot about, sharing a lot with, learning a lot from people I'm interacting with. So, there are various areas of our life. This answer that I would like to give is divided into certain categories or aspects. First is the biological, then your interpersonal, first is your biological, your psychological, your interpersonal, and your social. Okay, so these are the areas that we need to work on our well-being in. So to begin with your biological, please exercise. It's important to keep your physical hygiene. It's important to eat healthy, and it's important to maintain your sleep hygiene, to maintain your sleep from getting disturbed, which happens quite often in stressful times. Please read up on what sleep hygiene is all about. In terms of your psychological well-being, please re-routinize, in the sense, do not try to use the same routine that you were following earlier, but adapt your routine to your current situation. Practice mindfulness, try to be in the present, try to find what is giving you purpose and meaning in these times. That is very, very important. Know what you can control and know what you cannot control. Work on what you can control and accept what you cannot, and focus on what you can, basically. Self-care is very important. Working on building resilience is very important. Focusing on or engaging in creative pursuits, things that are going to make you feel productive, and engaging in art, building something, making something, that is also going to sort of nourish and nurture your soul. If you're religious, if you believe in God, do not hesitate or do not refrain from praying, do not refrain from hoping. Go ahead and pray. Spend some time wishing well for the world. That also really helps in building resilience and feel positive. Another very important thing is to build gratitude, to engage in gratitude, because it's very important to identify what is working for us at this point of time. What is it that we are thankful for? What is it that we are grateful for? Because studies have shown that engaging regularly in gratitude actually changes the neurochemical pathways of the brain and the neurochemical structure of the brain. So there are a lot of neuropsychological studies done with gratitude. So it's very, very important that we engage in gratitude. Definitely improves coping, builds resilience, and increases happiness. So every day, if you just identify one thing that you're grateful for, one thing that you're happy about, one thing that you feel thankful for, that is going to be very important. Apart from that, if you have pets, nothing like it. Spend your time cuddling with pets, spend your time playing with them. The animal therapy is also being researched a lot and helps with stress and reducing stress and coping and happiness. In terms of interpersonal coping, remember, if all of us, everybody is going through the same thing. We are all together in this. Remember to be kind. Kindness at this point of time is going to be very, very important. We are not all used to living with our family members all the time, 24/7. We are all used to doing our stuff and getting back to our homes. But now, because we are going to be together, we are together 24/7, it's possible that there are more number of arguments or more conflicts. You have to remember, please be kind to not just yourself, but to your family members as well, because all of you are going through this difficult journey together. Spend time with each other, play together, play board games, play cards, play app-based games online with your family members. Make each other feel safe. This is very, very important. And be very careful about what you're saying to yourself and to each other. It all again comes down to kindness. Don't say things that you don't mean. Because right now everybody is in close proximity and a lot more vulnerable than before. So please do remember these points. Socially, it's important that you limit your news intake. The TV does not have to be on all the time telling you, okay, now this is the statistics and these many people have died and these many people have recovered and these many people are symptomatic, asymptomatic, all of that. You do not need to constantly expose yourself to the news. You want to do it 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes in the evening, and that's about it, because it only increases the anxiety that you're going to face. Do not send forwards or information without fact checking. Do not indulge in rumor mongering, because and especially WhatsApp is a platform right now that messages are sent at a speed or forwarded at a speed that we cannot even imagine. So it's important that we do not forward information or anything at all unless we know it to be a fact and unless we know it to be true. Follow the rules that have been set up. Follow your hygiene rules, follow your social distancing rules, and at the same time, if you want information, please, if you want to seek information, use reliable resources. Access reliable resources like government websites or WHO websites or any other scientific organizations that are talking about this information. So this is also very important. At the same time, if you feel things are difficult and you're unable to cope and you need help, do not abstain from seeking help. Do not be shy from seeking help. Please reach out to your psychologist, to your clinical psychologist, to your psychiatrist. A lot of people are doing work online. Reach out to them. And there is no shame in seeking help. Please do not give in to the stigma and taboos that are surrounding the seeking of mental health. Okay, if you get a fever, you'll go to a doctor. Similarly, if you're having psychological difficulties, you'll go to a psychologist. It's as simple as that. And one needs to remember these things. So yes, that's important. And along with all this, like I have also mentioned before, please be mindful, please meditate, please spend time with yourself, please take a break, please relax, please sleep. So all these things, together, when we do these things together, when we share all of these things with our family members and work together, it won't be as difficult.
So, thank you so much. All this information, all that you have told, all the guidelines, they are going to be really helpful. We'll all try to incorporate all this that we have learned today. Thank you for taking out your time from the busy schedule that you have. It was amazing to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, Tanushree, for inviting me, and it's my privilege to be here and to be able to help in these difficult times. And of course, I'm always available. And I think Tanushree will put out my profile with this video, and you will also get my information, the organization, the center that I work with, and any other ways that you can get in touch with me if you need help. I'm around and I'm available and I am online to help.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.